And we are back. Another episode of Coach and Coach Podcast. Man, you better tell a friend to tell a friend and tell another friend that the Coach and Coach Podcast, your favorite two coaches, are on. Thursday night, Regional Baseball Eve. Dog days of summer. Welcome to the Coach and Coach Podcast. That guy on the left of me who unparlayed a successful playing career into a coaching career. Third time's a charm. We are in a writing career now. That guy right beside me is the guy that put the plays together. The godfather of the hair raid offense. He is our offensive coordinator. He is Coach Benji. And I'm that old coach that don't wear a headset. I just go out there, run that 5-2 cheat cover 3, and just try to make a play. I am your defensive coordinator. I'm Coach Marks. We make up the Coach and Coach Podcast. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, hit that follow button. If you comment, we'll try our best to communicate with you tonight. Those that are following us on TikTok, make sure you hit that screen. Y'all didn't hit that screen the last time. Hurt my feelings. I don't like my feelings being hurt. So hit that screen. Let us know that you love us. Make sure that you subscribe and follow us, Coach and Coach Podcast on TikTok, also the Coach and Coach Podcast on Facebook. If you happen to miss the show, and you shouldn't miss the show, but if you miss the show tonight, you can always catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. You go ahead and hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, and set your alerts. You will never miss an episode. But we are back, and it is a Thursday night, Coach, and I feel like we're more at we're getting back to that rhythm of consistency now. I know it's just been a week, but I just feel like that rhythm of consistency is returning back now.
Yeah, had to figure out how to balance some different things. So that's on my end, and then with you, the spring sports. That's when it's busy because your spring sports, in the fall, it's like Friday nights for football. You might have a golf match here and there, but in the spring, it's something every night. So now that the summer's here, we get to preview and cover uh, the baseball for the run through the College World Series, and then that'll be all that's going on until football starts back in
You
fall
got the
camp in
NBA.
August.
You got the NBA.
But they're about done.
Yeah, they start in June the 3rd. I try my best to watch WNBA, but they liable to play on Monday and don't play on Tuesday. That just confuses me sometimes. So by the time we get to July, we still got a couple of weeks, but it'll be full blast. We'll do a lot of this is what's going to happen. This is what's going on. We'll do a lot of those, and then we'll get to that first game, and then we'll get rolling. But speaking of Coach, let's get rolling, man. We got the Lincoln Regional beginning on tomorrow night. Ole Miss takes on Arizona State. Coach, talked to some people on yesterday. One of them is baseball coach at Bruce High School, Coach Chase Clark, and he mentioned that the Nebraska. He said he named 3 teams that they're hosting, but really not expecting to win their region, and Nebraska was one of it. How do you feel about that? We were just chit-chatting about it, and he brought up the Nebraska region as well as the Arkansas, and he brought up another team, and he was just saying he don't even believe that the committee believed that they was going to get out of their own region.
I do think that Nebraska plays a style of baseball that kind of reminds you, I guess, comparable to an SEC team would be like a Kentucky, where they're gonna, if a guy gets on, they're bunting him over, they're stealing, they're trying to move runners. They force you to make plays to take care of the baseball. Don't make unforced errors. Getting out when you can get an out. They make every pitch matter. Good plate discipline, but Ole Miss has a path. I mean, you're going to face 8 p.m. tomorrow night on ESPN2. You're going to face Arizona State, who went 19-11 in the conference and is a 3 seed. So that tells you that somewhere down the line they lost some games that they had no business losing.
Yeah.
But they do. They're going to throw a pitcher on the mound tomorrow night who's made 15 starts. He's got a 3.51 ERA, and Cole Carlin, 124 strikeouts on the season, only walked 29 batters. Hitters hit 220 against him. And we've talked about it several times on this podcast that Ole Miss's problem is uh, seeing pitches, making sure that you maximize the approach that they take, which is to try to mash the baseball out of the park. And if you're gonna take that approach, you've got to be disciplined against a guy like this who is probably gonna be able to mix pitches. And the good thing is that they've only had a week to kind of scout you. It's not like they saw you. They had people in the building who could kind of scout on you weeks in advance. They just found this out, so maybe they don't have the best information on where to pitch you. But if they come out, if Ole Miss comes out swinging at a lot of swing and miss type pitches and can't, um, push runners across, and this thing turns into one of those tight games where, you know, it matters to the bullpen. Uh, Maybe that's where Ole Miss might have the slight advantage because you have a guy like Hudson Calhoun that can bridge Hunter Elliott and a Walker Hooks who's just been lights out as a closer. But I think it'll all start for Ole Miss. The path to get through it, it'll all start on the mound, and it'll start with Hunter Elliott tomorrow night. And the good thing for him is that if you're going to go based off a matchup, Arizona State, there's a noticeable difference in how they hit left-handed versus right-handed pitching.
Well, Coach, I mean, I'm just looking at the bracket today and just looking at the opportunity. Ole Miss is in a golden opportunity, not only, not just to get out of this region, but this is probably, I'm not going to say one of the easiest because you really can't take away from Auburn. They can just, when you look at Auburn's region, it's not like it's some heavy hitters in there. They could easily just go ahead and handle business and host that super region and take on. But then that's the possibility that Ole Miss gets to come closer to home, and I'm pretty sure they would love to either host. But I guess the second best thing, if I got to do a super regional in Auburn, Alabama, then I mean that's as close to a home cooking as you can get. So the path to Omaha is not as strenuous as as it could have been, could have been better. But when you look at other routes, you look at Georgia and State in the same bracket. You got Alabama and Florida State in the same bracket. You got some areas where some things got to happen, some things got to shake for them. And I think Ole Miss, if you get that lightning in the bottle and you just hit this weekend, and it's just one of those weekends where you're hitting, then I think they gotta go to an opportunity and you handle that business, and you never know, something might happen. Central Florida might get hot. One thing about college baseball, small school, big school don't matter. If you go back and look at the last 20 or 30 World Series champions, you will be amazed at what you see. I mean, you see teams like Cal State Berkeley, or you see teams like Charlotte, or you see teams that's in that tournament. See teams in Omaha that you don't, in a normal situation you wouldn't see. So smaller schools don't mean a thing in the regionals or the super regionals. So it looked like the path that they got. But what will it take outside of just let's say somebody that don't watch baseball and they just know, okay, I'm just an Ole Miss fan, and we just got to hit home runs, and we know that it's either feast or famine with our offense, and is patience the key this week, or we just swing away and just hope that it goes over the fence?
No, you want an approach. I mean, you want to be able to work counts, get into opposing pitcher's bullpen. Um, you know, continue. You want to put the pressure on on the opponent. But I'm just going to be very clear. I think the path for this team is you have to win tomorrow night. Mike Bianco is 1-7 in away regionals. Uh, he's 1-1. He's only played 2 games out of the 7. He's only uh, played in 2 regionals where they won the Friday night game um, on the road. So from a trend standpoint, you got to win Friday night. But I think most importantly, um, I do think it's having a patient approach at the plate that you know maximizes. If you got a chance to hit a home run, hit it out of the park. But if there's a chance to take a pitch away and drive it into the gap, take the ball the opposite field, you got to be able to do that too. But I still think it comes down to you got to win on Friday night, and honestly, you need to win. You need to get to 2-0. You need to.
And that's what I was about to ask you. I was going to ask
You
you.
don't want your last real bullet to be in that win or go home moment. You get to 2-0. Taylor Rabe's going to be, a guy that you probably feel good about having a chance to win the regional. I think that if you don't, Taylor Rabe gives you a great chance to get to that next game. If you're in an elimination situation, he's going to give you a chance to get to the next game. But you get to an all hands on deck situation from there, and I kind of worry about the back end of the bullpen depth to be able to pull it out. So I think the most important thing for Ole Miss is, it's an easy thing to say. Of course, you want to win, but I I think you have to start out 1-0. I think it's going to be really difficult to get out of this thing from the losers bracket. Now,
Right, that's one.
here's the key though, and here's something we got to discuss. If you do lose, you are the South Dakota State's one of the worst four seeds in the tournament. Um, Now, could you say, hey, we're not, and it's a tough situation to be in. Are you going to risk throwing a game 4 type starter, a Tuesday night starter against them in an elimination game and just hope that your offense does enough? Or do you go out there and throw your normal game 2 starter against one of the worst teams uh, in the regional, or not one of the worst team in the regional? And when you do that, that just goes to show you how important that Friday night win is, because it changes. If you're in the winners bracket, managing how you're going to handle pitching situations is pretty clear. But if you lose, you know, there's a ton of different routes that this thing could go from a management standpoint. And I'm rambling, Coach. So please
Well, one
interject
of the
when you need
one of
to.
the things I was going to ask you is I was going to talk about the pitching depth and like how important it is to just to be in the winners bracket. Do we want to get ourselves in a situation where we win Friday night but lose Saturday, and force ourselves to win Saturday night and having to beat whoever twice, and you're looking at really using up the limited arms or quality arms that we have. How important, and I think you iterated that, the importance of getting to 2-0. I think 2-0 is in order for Ole Miss to move on. Not saying they can't move on, but me personally, in order for Ole Miss to move on, I feel like they have to win Friday night and they have to win Saturday and they have to be 2-0 and go ahead and get in that championship game to where a team has to beat them twice, opposed to them having to beat somebody else twice.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I mean, it changes the way, if you are in, say you're the one that gets to 2-0 and you're in one of those tight games, in that game 3 scenario. um, say Rabe's the starter. He's working the 5th inning. There's runners on second and third, 2 outs, and from a matchup standpoint, you don't want him to face this guy. You don't think he can get out, and you really need to get out of this inning. And if you're up 2-0, you may say, "Hey, we're going to see if he can get out of the inning right here." Just little things like that that change the way you manage uh, the game. It's a dance, and it starts tomorrow night. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the 2-0 part. I mean, I think anytime you win, it's going to create the clearest path. Um, and I think that obviously the more you win earlier in the weekend, I just think it helps with decision making, from a coaching staff standpoint. So I think that's one of the most important parts of it because, like I said, being 1-7, they're 1-1 in finals where they got or in regionals where they got to 2-0. TCU ended up beating them twice out of the winners bracket in 2012, I believe. But then, the national championship run, you started it out of traveling to Coral Gables. So, we'll see. I think it's going to be a really fun bracket to watch. I think tomorrow night it's got a chance to be a really good pitching matchup. I think it's going to be entertaining baseball. It's probably going to be nerve-wracking baseball for Ole Miss fans, but
Yeah, it is.
I
It
think
is.
I think it's going to be a really entertaining region.
Yeah, I don't want entertainment. I'll be entertained. I go watch WWE got Clash in Italy Sunday. I'll be entertained then. I need them to win. I don't need no entertainment. I'm not safe with leads anymore unless it's say eighth or ninth inning behind it. So a big lead don't even really get me motivated. But just there's an aura of playing at Ole Miss that we really blew an opportunity to do that because it seems like during this time, if you got baseball going on in Ole Miss, it's different. It's
Yeah.
different. The vibe is different. It gives you almost the regional feel, and I'm not going to say to a full 100%, similarities, but I would go 80, 85, 90. That when you have a regional at Ole Miss, it gives you a football feel.
Yeah,
And
they've
that energy is different, and they have really fed off that energy. Now, Ole Miss fans travel well. I'm pretty sure that Ole Miss fans will pack out Lincoln as much as they can. I think anybody that watched the game tomorrow, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it whenever Ole Miss make a play. You're going to hear the fans, but there's something different when you're playing at Ole Miss. So,
and I think I don't know about Arizona State, but I think if Ole Miss gets the chance to play Nebraska, that's going to be a great environment. I think Nebraska's going to going to pack that place and support it. It's going to be and in a regional, you kind of want that when you've played 10 weekends of home and road baseball where you're playing in large crowds. You don't want to turn around and go to some dead regional where it is a thing that you can't say about some of the Big Ten schools. They don't care about baseball. So if you want that place to have a little juice to it, and I certainly think it's going to.
well, it's definitely going to be on the docket, and for those that are looking for the game tomorrow, Coach tricked me into getting the ESPN app, so I'm stuck with it now. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Hey, it's on
Um,
regular It's gonna be on
it's a
ESPN too.
regular tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm still
8
stuck
p.m.
with I'm still stuck with what you tricked me into getting, and but at least I can watch Clash in Italy Sunday. Got to drive my son to Northeast as he begin his journey, so hopefully I'll make it back in time to watch it. Um,
And there's just for anybody interested, if you'll go to Ole Miss Rebels on SI, there is plenty of regional content. And then I'll also have a notebook coming out at 6 a.m. on just no, it's not really an in-depth piece or anything, just notes on lineup changes, pitching matchups, things like that. But I don't know if it's been published yet, but there's one just break it down. There's a story on Hayden Federico, Taylor Ray from their press conference today, breaking their statistical breakdowns, pitching match, all kind of stuff. Just go to Ole Miss Rebels on SI and it's regional central. You can find all the content you need for free.
Ole Miss is the favorite tomorrow, so I hope the Vegas odds makers know what they're talking about, and Ole Miss pull it off, and we can get that going. But speaking of Ole Miss, man, there was a lot of interesting things that went on just this past week. And the old ball coach, I know Steve Spurrier is the old ball coach, but the new old ball coach, he had something to say. Let me play what I think he might have said.
Kareem Akbar. That's right, the educated brother from the bank. He's the real head of the CMB, the brains behind the whole thing. I told you, this thing is bigger than Nino Brown, and I gotta listen. Order. If I'm going down, I'm taking a whole lot of people with me.
Order in the court.
That was Nino Brown. He said that he was not just the head of the CMB, it was other people that was doing it. And basically, Pete Golden said this week, if you come after me, NCAA, I'm coming after you. Coach, how do you feel? Because Pete been quiet. He's been quiet. Everybody has said what they had to say. Everybody done taking their shots. And me as a fan, I don't want to hear about how friendly you are with these people, because these people are not respecting you and where you at right now. But Pete had something to say this week, Coach. How do you feel about Pete's response to everything that has went on since he's become the head coach at Ole Miss?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine. There's been some really good stories written about how chaotic that time period was between the Fiesta Bowl and the transfer portal opening, and so pretty much from the time Pete Golden was promoted, it's just been chaotic. Like, you have the lockdown in Oxford right after the Egg Bowl, where Lane Kiffin won't come out and meet with anybody. You have the tampering stuff, just a lot of different stuff. And I think that from a university standpoint, I thought that they handled it, had a great message. He delivered it, said what you had to say. And, I agree with him from the fact, I said this the other night, like, if you're going to structure roster construction around tampering and the transfer portal, some of the things he said were, like talking about comparing, this is a 1-year guy from Cal, hadn't played a snap at Clemson, wanted to come to Ole Miss, and he came to Ole Miss
On an official visit. Let's make sure people understand that. He was on. This wasn't no out of the blue thing that just happened out of the sky.
And, and he's like, what are we doing with the whole situation with TJ Daugherty? And so, I mean, I think it's completely fair. Like if I'm the head coach of Alaska State and I get player X from so-and-so, but say Ole Miss takes player Y from me, well, I took player X and I probably, did some shady stuff to do it. So I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to go. And that gets back into where I think Dabo hadn't been in the transfer portal, gets into the transfer portal, tries to use it, gets burned.
Got his feelings hurt.
And goes and snitches. But no, I think, I'm rambling, but I think they did a great job of saying, hey, we're, the narrative, this is the narrative. The SEC spring meetings are coming up. We're not going to have to go out and reach out and try to get somebody for comment or anything. All the media is going to be in one spot. We'll just.
I don't think Peter do that anyway.
I thought that, all the jokes of we're going to tell our story from the Ross Bjort days. I thought that they told their story without telling everybody that they were going to tell their story. So I thought it was good. I mean, like I said, I thought it was a polished message that kind of needed to be said, on all fronts. I think that, kind of killing the, I'm not playing into the beef with Lane Kiffin stuff, or anything. And even with Sarkisian's comments, saying like, even though I don't believe that it was taken out of context, it was a quote. It was a quote.
This is what getting me, Coach. This is what getting me is when coaches say these things and the reaction is not good, then all of this backtracking. My thing is, go ahead and stick with your guns. That's why I respect Deion Sanders so much. People hate him, but how many times do he backtrack off of something he said? He'll tell you, I said it. I said it.
Yeah.
But then you get these coaches that like to run their mouths, and to an extent, I give Dabo credit. He haven't backed down off of what he put out there.
Yeah, he had.
He haven't backed down off of it.
He ain't said nothing else, but he ain't backed off of it.
But I can respect that, Coach. I'll be mad too. You got my player. That's why I said I could never coach college football, because if you tell me you with me on Friday and then on Sunday I saw you went somewhere else, I'm gonna be at your house that day. And I'm gonna be like, hey, didn't you tell me you were with me? And I'm ready to fight you, daddy, everybody in the house, because you already told me that. But my thing is, you get these coaches that do these interviews, do all these things. You know what you're saying. You know what you're saying is going to be published. And when in Lane's part, you know the effect of what you're going to say. I mean, crap, think about the Egg Bowl, that whole bull crap about somebody stealing jerseys. And or when he left Ole Miss, the crap about him being run off the road. You know, if you're going to say something, just stay with your bull crap. Sarkisian, man, this what get me. These are two coaches that had to rehabilitate their image. Both of these coaches had to rehabilitate their image. And now, with a little success, they forget that they had to rehabilitate their image. So, don't be no, I'm just going to say, don't be no punk after you said it. Just man up and say, yeah, that's what I did. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. Well, how did you mean it? I get tired of when people deal with us and they tell us exactly what they think. And then when we publish what they say, well, they took it out of context. How? How
Yeah,
did
especially
they
when it was. I mean, it was a quote. You know, you don't take a quote out of context. You said what the man said word for word. But again, like I said, I think that I think I said this. I think I said it Monday when we had the show. Is that you know, if I'm Ole Miss, I'm almost to the point where I don't even get mad at any of it anymore, because I think, and I think you see it littered throughout. You know, like obviously the Lane stuff and the Sarkisian article, and it didn't come out during SEC spring meetings, but I think SEC spring meetings this week have kind of reiterated it, that um, we live in a chaotic time of college sports. There's pressure to win on everybody because there's greater playoff access now, even though they're going to expand it further. There's greater playoff access now than there was 5, 10, 15 years ago. And with that, you have the NIL and transfer portal, where everybody's catching up, spending money at ridiculous amounts. And you have these programs who, you know, they're paying Steve Sarkisian a ton of money. He has a Heisman, one of the odds-on favorites to win the Heisman's. Now, whether he is, coach, that's a different debate. But he's going to be listed as somebody you can go as a favorite to go bet on for the Heisman. A ton of talent that they brought in, and the pressure's on them to win. You know, when you're spending $30-40 million on a roster, there's no yearly, not even like for the next 4 years. We're talking about yearly, and probably more as the years go on. You know, if you don't win and you're spending all this money, you're going to get run out of town. And I think that right now, the top of the league, especially when you see the shots thrown at a program like Ole Miss has kind of found their mark in this era. And, you know, I'm not saying that Ole Miss fans will get complacent and, you know, a playoff berth here and there will be enough to satisfy everybody. You know, if you're getting there, you're going to want to get further. But the fact that Ole Miss has found a model that works for them, where they can go have a chance to compete for national championships, you know, that's going to bother the big time programs who, you know, it's not make the playoffs this year expectations. It's win a national championship. And
Yeah.
I think that the pressure's higher than it's ever been because of all the money and everything else that's on the line. And you're just seeing a lot of stuff said that is a direct reflection of that pressure.
Well, you know, Pete had to address a lot of things. He had to address the Lane Kiffin comment. He had to address the Sarkisian comment. But then he got down to the nitty gritty with the NCAA going further with their investigation with the tampering charges that was brought up by Dabo Swinney at Clemson. And man, you know what? It's crazy because I just on yesterday, I was looking at Dabo's journey to Clemson, how he was a walk-on receiver at Alabama, was on I think the 92 national championship team, and how he went and started real estate and was doing great as a real estate, selling units, and came back to coach at Alabama, and Terry Bowden brings him to Clemson, and then Bowden leaves and he becomes the head coach of Clemson. So, you know, respect for what he has done and how he's built his brand, and has a good root of players in the NFL. He has a national championship, has been in contention ever since the BCS championship has evolved, and he's always been there. So for him to go this route was kind of shocking to me, but I understand when your feelings are hurt, you do that. But the way Pete addressed it and the whole allegation, Pete Golden basically just said, guys, we have the same receipts. We have the same receipts that you turned in, and and maybe I'm playing conspiracy theorist. I do believe Dabo had some motivation, because there is, and I'm not gonna say no name, but allegedly, it's clear that it is a certain coach that's ready to see us burn down. He has done everything in his power to see us burn down. So it wouldn't shock me that if that alleged coach, didn't plant a seed somewhere. But the way Pete handled it, Pete said, if you come after me, in other words, in true Delta, coming from Delta State, Southern Louisiana, kind of Coach Ogeron-ish type way, well, if you come after me, then I got some receipts too. And how do you think, because the NCAA has taken black eye after black eye, and they keep putting their face in everybody's fist way. They don't care. You knock me out, let me get back up. The NCAA remind me of Glass Joe on Mike Tyson Punch-Out. The first one to keep getting knocked out, and I'm going to keep getting up to get knocked out. How do you feel? We're looking at what he said and how he said it. How do you think the NCAA do they? Is it a threat, or because what can you do? What are you gonna do?
I don't know, because the the rules, as far as like what they're trying, like the new proposal from the Division I Board of Governors that I believe will be voted on next month. Where they want to implement the 6-game suspension, the 20% of rev share, budget loss, and so on. I think it's 5 scholarships lost. Whatever the case may be. I don't think that's retroactive to this. So
Before you do that, Coach, do scholarships even matter anymore when you got NIL?
I guess not necessarily.
Who cares if you put me on scholarship when I'm gonna if my school costing $20,000, man, I'm gonna make that in a game anyway. I don't have to be on scholarship.
Right. But so I don't think any of that. I think that if you made me guess, it'll be like a 1-game suspension of
And I don't like that.
Of the university's choosing.
I don't like
to
that.
say, because I just don't think I don't think that the NCAA can just let this go. I don't,
And if I'm Keith Carter, I'm not taking no real punishment off of this.
and that's the thing, and I don't think there's any real you haven't had the ability to really enforce any rules. So how are you going to just levy someone? I think that 2024 Kurt Ferentz, head coach at Iowa, is the only other suspension from a tampering related incident, and it was a 1-game suspension. So I'm assuming that it's going to be something similar to that.
I wouldn't accept it. If Keith Carter, if you listen to me, you don't accept that. You sue the NCAA.
No, I think so that's where I disagree. I think that which I don't know how long it would take to settle it, but I think that the beginning of the Pete Golden era, like we said at the beginning of the segment, has been nothing but chaotic. I think if they give you something that lightly, like if they say, "Hey, you can pick the game. If it's a Wolford in November, late in the year, you can just sit that one out, coach." and just move on from it and change, just have a breath of fresh air and narrative. If now if they come trying to lay the law, that's when I would get serious. But if they're just gonna kind of say like, "Hey, man, this is it," I don't know if I just for the sake of finally getting a chance to flip the narrative and control it, I don't know if I wouldn't just say, "All right, he's not coaching this game. We're moving on," and that's the final thing.
I'm not giving the
Um,
NCAA that luxury because the NCAA has made a living off of railroading Ole Miss. They've made a living off of doing it, and they've enjoyed it. You're not getting another victory on me. I'm not taking a 1-game suspension.
I just don't. I don't, and I don't know. I don't even know if it'll even be that. I don't really know what they can do here because of the fact of what's brought the conversation up is that if Ole Miss decides to fight it with the receipts, I mean, what kind of can of worms are you opening there?
Because and I'm pretty sure he's had a conversation with Keith Carter. I don't think Pete just did this off the whim. He's not on a high school level where we're just speaking and we're just talking. We don't have no type of conversation with nobody around. I'm pretty sure that Keith Carter gave him the okay that, hey, once they do what they're gonna do, then we're gonna release what we got.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm
then
sure. I mean, the whole thing. Like, I think that it's in a lot of ways where people have been able to go ha ha and poke fun and stuff at Ole Miss. I think if you took the fan glasses off and just looked at it from the way the university operates, I think they've handled it. I think they have a plan for everything. I think they look like a program that's grounded, where you see all these athletic directors and coaches all week long talk about how we got to break away because uh,
oh, that's coming.
we're scared we're not going to make the playoffs and yada yada yada, and we're mad that we've gone to 9 conference games, but the playoffs didn't get expanded to 16 this year. Yada yada yada, and Ole Miss is just kind of sitting there like, we're here. If the playoff expands, it expands. If break away, we break away. But they, the comments that came out of Ole Miss from spring meeting, seem more measured and grounded and not emotional. Like it came across that they have a plan in place. That they may not know how this ends up right now, but I think that as long as you have guys like Glenn Boyce, Keith Carter in your athletic department, I think you're going to be fine. I don't really. I've had a hard time getting worked up over the transfer stuff. I don't see how anything really comes of it.
Is this a message through Ole Miss from the SEC to the NCAA?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I think like I said earlier, like it obviously gave them a platform to get in front of a ton of national media at one time to kind of take control of the narrative, and I think that was a calculated plan to do that.
And the NCAA, I mean, you're about to be, you're not a favorite because when you go after these kids and you
Because
tell
coach,
it
think
came.
about how quiet it has been. I mean, we're talking about this. The tampering stuff happened in January. January 16th was when I think Dabo turned stuff over to the NCAA to January 23rd when he came public in the press conference about it. And there's not really been a word. Like, this is the first words. I mean, it's been quiet on Ole Miss's end, and I think there was a reason for that. I think this week, they saw this week on the calendar as a chance to kind of air some things out, and they did that.
What going into the NCAA? What in the SEC? I know we talk about it. What is your percentage of true likelihood that there be a true breakaway?
Uh,
And how does it affect the other sports?
I think you would have to look at it's complicated, coach, because you'd have to tell me what does the Protecting Sports Act, that the bipartisan bill that Congress is working on right now. In that act, if I'm the SEC and I'm going to break away, there's still some teams I'd probably like to try to bring under my umbrella, and the government has a little section in their bill that almost looks like they're kind of restricting some of this conference expansion and stuff in an effort. Like it's almost like the government may see this or the NCAA. Everybody, well, I mean, we all see it. It's coming. They're talking about it, but it's like they may have a plan where they can limit some of the conference size because while I do think that
Because we're almost there anyway.
where I do think that the SEC would probably be fine. Like there's plenty of the ESPN's going to negotiate on that TV rights.
There is no Pac-12.
Other media companies would do the same if it gave them a chance to renegotiate a media rights deal. And because that's what it all comes down to is money. Like everybody talks about the Big Ten winning 3 straight national championships, and the SEC coaches are just complaining because they're not winning. And the SEC's falling off. And while some of that is true, I mean, Big Ten's won 3 straight national championships. I think that, the Big Ten is from a money standpoint, has bigger alumni bases and corporations in the North that it can help funnel money. And I think that for the SEC, this all comes down to the fact that the Big Ten's got more money than we have right now, and we have to figure out how to get more. And I think that's why you're seeing this conversation
come get about. All the schools.
And I think from an affecting other sports standpoint, if you get into, as long as football is going to funnel or fund Olympic sports, they're going to try to find solutions to make more money to pay for it. So I think, if there's not if the conversation dies around a breakaway, I think that means that Olympic sports went away too. I think that having to fund those sports is going to continue to push some of this.
Because when you look at the conferences, man, and I think about Dabo and the ACC, who would ever thought that the Big 12 would be spoken more highly right now in football than ACC? And
yeah,
miles ahead. And you're looking at, I don't know. I don't know if Dabo's cry out was more of where, even though you had an ACC team that made it to the national championship, but they had to backdoor their way into the playoffs. Which now you think about is, that's grounds for expansion right there, because they could have very easily, if the ACC championship would have went differently, Miami wouldn't have been in.
Yeah, you're right.
And boom, you'd have been looking at a different situation. So there go your lobbying for an expansion right there. But it's just, when you think about, and I'm like you, I hate when the government get involved. This is supposed to be the safe zone. Sports is supposed to be the safe zone. Sports is supposed to be a place where the racism ain't there, the government ain't there, the politics ain't there. And, the more and more we're in this social media world, it's just not going to be that way. But when you talk about football is something different, in the South. So when you talk about government creating laws, creating not sanction, but creating, different things to police athletics, it bothers me, because NCAA, that's what you should have done.
Right.
But money meant more to you. And then when the money was flowing, the money was great, you was having a good time with the money. It looked like I unfroze up on what you call it, but I ain't gonna worry about it.
I can still hear you. I ain't seen you the whole time.
Oh man, maybe my camera probably been off the whole time. Ain't no telling.
I can hear you.
Yeah, let me get that situated. But give me some backup on this bill. Give me some insight on this bill that they got up.
I think I don't know. I mean, I think it's a start as far as, like real serious conversations, but it's a flawed bill. Like, you talk about the Lane Kiffin rule where a coach can't be contacted from another university until the season's over with, and um, a coach can't leave for another job until the season's over with. But that same rule applies to the coach, like a James Franklin who got fired in week 4, or can't take a job until the very end of the season when he got let go. Like, he can't go back to work. I think there's a lot of things from a contract standpoint. I mean, contracts have buyouts; they're negotiated. Um, I don't know how, and it kind of makes you wonder from a labor standpoint, what do the coaches do if that's the case? Because the obvious fix to a lot of this stuff is fix the calendar, but instead we're gonna create rules that
Well, that
prohibit
makes the
coaches from
NCAA. The
taking up
NCAA is
jobs. So
wanting the government to fix the calendar for them because if they fix the calendar, it makes them too accountable.
I
And the
think,
NCAA had full control to handle this stuff. Yet they chase all of these smoking guns, all these different things that they folk put all their money and focus on, and still haven't fixed nothing.
yeah, and I think if you go and do a deep dive read on it, and I haven't read everything in it, I've read some of the um, just some points I found interesting that I didn't know were going to be a part of it, and I could pick them apart. And I'm not a lawyer or or anybody who has wrote a piece of legislation, so um, it's flawed. But I do think the fact that it's here, uh, I think that the start is here where there's going to be some federal oversight on college sports for a while.
And that's unfortunate. And once again, it's because an organization wasn't able to do their job that now, not saying baseball have fell off, but once the government got into Major League Baseball and started everything they started with the PEDs and whatnot, which everybody was doing it. You're not finna tell me that it was just Barry Bonds and Rafael Palmeiro and Roger Clemens. They were the only ones. Sammy Sosa. They were the only Bagwell. They were the only ones that were doing it. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're not finna tell me they were the only ones. Jose Canseco, he was the only one. Mark McGwire, the only one. Stop it. And it took baseball a long time. Now, I don't know how Major League Baseball generate man, I tell you, America loves baseball because it ain't mess with their money at all. But their stardom, their fan, we're about close to All-Star break, and you don't really ESPN have replaced Sunday night baseball.
Yeah, there's not any.
That used to be, Sunday night baseball, Cardinals and
Coach, what I would do for just an episode of Baseball Tonight.
Oh, that's gone. So that lets you know that the aura, even though it hasn't messed with their money, but what it has done,
But it has, Coach. Like, the big market teams are fine, but we're getting to a point. They're going to introduce the cap. We're facing. The MLB's facing labor stoppage next year. So the small market teams are really struggling. It's the money's there for the big market teams, but your smaller markets, man. Once the excitement of and that race is over, it's brutal because it's a long season.
And then you're giving out $1 billion contracts, deferred for 20 years, which don't make sense at all. That's why the Mets dumb butt still paying for Bobby Bonilla every July the 1st, and they still got to do that for about 3 or 4 more years. Crap, when the whole day is called Bobby Bonilla Day, but it's just once the government gets involved, then it just gets murky, it gets ugly, and I hope that don't happen here, but it's all because and I don't like, me personally, I don't like all of these controversial government people, trying to side with Ole Miss. I don't like that. I don't like that. We got enough problems than to have your controversy as well. But you got a lot of people like, how would you leave a team that was, and which is, hindsight is 2020, but it's just it do seems a little stupid. Why would you leave a team that's, competing for a championship? It don't make sense, but hey, do what you must do. Well,
Hey,
he didn't
John Summerall said it didn't make any sense.
like
He said Summerall said no offense, but I'm not. I wouldn't have left Tulane if I couldn't have coached it. He said no offense to anybody out there, no shot, but I would not have left Tulane if Florida wouldn't have let me coach in the playoffs.
now I didn't like his last part, playing compete for a championship, so you didn't have a shot. But I understand I understand the whole method of it, and that's one of them things where you just bite the bullet. Man, I try this again next year, but I got a chance to win a championship. I got a chance to do something that will never be taken away. Well, unless you're well, no, they didn't take his away. They just told him he can't come
But you
back.
can't have that conversation because LSU fans would be like, "Well, you should have just let him coach in the playoff."
Oh, that's a lie.
Even though their athletic
That's
director
a lie.
that he wouldn't allow it. But
That's the
neither here
difference
nor
in
there.
that. That's the difference. He said he wouldn't have. He said if Florida wouldn't have let him do it, he wouldn't have went to Florida. Y'all got to listen to all what he just said. He said if Florida wouldn't have let him coach, then he wouldn't have went to Florida. So, and I hope it work out for him in Florida. But once you get big fish in little pond is great. Little fish in big pond is different. Act who freeze came back, should have stayed his butt at Liberty, and just had him. He wanted to come back to the SEC. Man, you caught lightning in a bottle at Ole Miss. It wasn't finna happen again. And you came on back, and now you're probably going to be on somebody's TV screen analyzing the game this year because there is no buzz about you anymore. And I thought for sure he would have got the Southern Miss job. When I knew when I knew Hugh Freeze was up for the Southern Miss job, I said that's a done deal. But apparently, somebody's like, whoa, there's some red flags or there's something that's not there. So sometimes you got to really think about what I always say, cost of living. Understand your cost of living. Yeah, you might make more moving to Atlanta, but you're going to pay more. Can you afford to pay more? And I think a lot of coaches sometimes get a little too big for themselves. You see coaches make that mistake all the time. They jump the gun. Crap, coach, I made the mistake. When I left Coffeyville, I chased the money and didn't factor in cost of living. Had a good thing building there, was building a brand that was, it was my brand. I was building it up and we was having success. And I saw them dollar signs. I thought I should have made more. And, hindsight is 2020. And like I said, even with Lane, I hope it work out for you. I hope you don't ever win a championship, but I just you be. But if you don't, it's. I feel I like my chances better you not winning one than you surviving 3 years of just being 9-3 or 8-4. That ain't gonna ride in Baton Rouge. Boosie will have you a car getting you on out of there. But I hope that. Good luck to you, buddy. I hope it all work out for you. Your backstabbing dog. I hope he got worms. Sit up there, you and left and went back to him. He didn't love you. He left you here.
Now, what would be really funny is say Lane leaves Juice at the Wild Rose Kennel the week of the Ole Miss game. He's like, I can't have the distraction. But it was all a plan to get him into the stadium for the game. And then when they release him, what if he don't know why? What if he's just looking at Lane like, why are we over here? Why are we not on the Ole Miss sideline?
We better quit talking about Juice before I have the Humane Society on my butt because I'm thinking of some things that I'm gonna mess around and say, and then we'll have the Humane Society looking at us. But
he's just a dog, man.
Dog.
And he does not tweet, believe it or not. He's not the one on Twitter.
No, that's him. That's him, Coach. It said Juice Kiffin That's him. So if he's the one doing it, if he want that smoke, we got to give him that smoke too. But outside of all of that crap, man, football. I'll be glad when football is back. But until football is back, this is where we're gonna be at. This is the avenue, and this is the lane we're gonna be at. No pun intended. But this is the road we're gonna be on until we got some actual football. Coach didn't want to cover the United States Football League, so we couldn't get nothing out of that. Are they still?
I can confirm. I think I watched like 4 snaps of the United States Football League this year.
Man, I try, Coach. I try, but I don't know, man. And it's unfortunate. I wish I could just look at it because there are some players there that's getting their opportunity.
And it's not a bad product. Like,
Yeah.
it's not. I've seen worse attempts at professional football. Like, my problem with it is, like, I'm definitely a guy that goes with the seasons. Like, in the spring, I want to watch baseball, especially while the Cardinals still have some.
I'm a basketball guy. I'm watching the NBA at that time. I'm not watching no football on a Saturday when I know that I got NBA basketball on Saturday. I got NBA basketball on Sunday. I'm not about to watch no football.
Yeah,
over basketball.
that's my problem.
Maybe they need to play it in. I don't know where you can play it at. It's crap. The NFL takes everything. Oh well, man. We rolling pretty good. But speaking of the NBA, man, we're a week away from the NBA Finals. You had the Knicks that beat the crap out of the Cavaliers, and I do want to touch on what the Cavaliers need to do in this offseason. But the Knicks swept the Cavaliers in that last game. I don't know, and Coach, you ain't even got to know basketball, but at some point, teams need to quit going after James Harden to win a championship. James Harden is not going to be your answer to a championship. James Harden was the last time he was in the finals, he was a 6-man with OKC. He went to Houston, then he went to Brooklyn, then he went to Philadelphia, then he went to Los Angeles, and now he's in Cleveland, and every one of them keep getting the same thing. But, Coach, there's a graphic that somebody showed today. Man, this make what LeBron did more impressive than anything. From 2011 all the way, I think they said to 18 and 19. I forgot what it was. LeBron in the finals. It was him.
Yeah.
Whatever team he was on. Ever since he's left the East, there have been a different conference champion in the finals.
Yeah, he had his run, man, because it was what?
Man.
In the early, I remember like a lot of like 2009, 2010, you saw a lot of Heat Bulls in the playoffs. You saw a lot of and it was against different teams that tried to, build and peak and get up there, and he kind of held that East down for a while, for a long while.
For a long while. And the thing about it, Coach, people looked at it as, well, the East is weak. The East is still weak, y'all. You tell me what team in the East the number 1 seed this year, Coach, was the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
They should have gotten beat in the first round. They should have been eliminated in the first round. So when you look at that, the East is still weak, but yet can't nobody dominate it. So that makes it more impressive than what LeBron is doing, what he did, than how people try to downplay it and how everybody, but, hey, Cleveland, you're in trouble. But tomorrow we got a game 6. Well, tonight, actually, got a game 6 with Spurs and OKC. And Coach, I just don't like OKC. I don't know if you watching the basketball the playoff time. OKC really irks me, man. They are the flopping giants. When you hear about it, let me sit down and watch these games. And Tony Brothers, there are only a few officials I know by, Scott Foster and Tony Brothers. I know them because they're constantly in the news. And then the guy that looked like Jeezy. No, he don't look like Jeezy. He looked like Gucci Man. It's a referee that look like Gucci. But them the 3 referees that I just, I see them, I know. And it makes you scratch your head and wonder because OKC. And when people are like, well, no, they just don't want the Spurs to get in because the Spurs, no, OKC ain't no big market. That ain't the if you think that's the reason why that's happening, OKC is not a big market. Trust me, they would have much rather had somebody else in the finals last year than OKC if that was the case. But Coach, the way they flop and the way if you touch them, they fall and this and that and the other, man, it is irritating to watch. Now, it's probably something else LeBron get blamed for because he get blamed for everything in the NFL. I mean, in the NBA, flopping is his fault too, and teams that draft players is his fault. Teams that get number one seed, that's his fault too. Everything is LeBron's fault. Them having a Canadian flag in every stadium, that's his fault. Everything is LeBron's fault. But the OKC and I think the Knicks matches up better. First of all, OKC is hurt right now. Jalen Williams went down again with a hamstring, and I don't know, Coach. I don't know if you ever dealt with a hamstring. I've pulled mine once, and when you pull a hamstring, man, it's like somebody giving you a shot in the back of your leg, and it don't subside. There's nothing you can do. You can't really stretch it. You just gotta rehab and rest that thing out. But he's not going to be 100% healthy. And when you look at the Knicks is a team that's built to win. I want the Knicks to win it, Coach. The Knicks are a team that's built to win a championship. I like Brunson. I like the fact that they got three guys that play college ball together, in Brunson, Bridges, and Hart. They got rid of DiVincenzo, however you say his name, but he would have been.
Who do they match up better with?
I think they match up better with OKC. And the reason why I say that, I think the Spurs' length is going to be a problem. First of all, Wembanyama is I'm very impressed with him this playoff. You know, he gets the stigma of being soft. And I think that's unfair because he looked like a toothpick. That's probably why. But you know, do you want him to be 280 pounds and be like Joel Embiid and can't finish the season? Or do you want him to go this route? Now, there is a lot of things that I wish he would do differently. You're 7'4" with a wingspan of about 8 feet. There's a lot of other him shooting threes and all of that. It's kind of irritating. But I think the Knicks, they fare better against OKC. First of all, because OKC is hurt right now. Now, OKC is going to defend, but the Knicks are going to defend too. They got some defenders off the bench in McBride. I don't know if Clarkson is much of a defender now, but Mitchell Robinson off the bench is a great defender and a great rebounder. OKC don't rebound well. And the Knicks have three decent rebounders in Mitchell Robinson, in Cat, and also in Josh Hart. Josh Hart who's a Swiss Army knife, man. He could play the 2, 3, or 4. He's able to play those positions. So the Knicks are in position to win. And if the Knicks win an NBA championship, I think Jalen Brunson will replace Derek Jeter as New York's favorite son. If the Knicks win a championship in the NBA, then Derek Jeter, all them Yankee things, and I think they even replaced Eli. Man, great pass. Man, it was amazing what you done. Thank you for stopping the Patriots for winning 2 championships. Thank you. But if the Knicks win this championship, Jalen Brunson will be the king of New York.
It's a basketball city.
Man, Jay-Z, move over. Your little song, you would no longer be the king of New York. Jalen Brunson will never have to. And for him to take a pay cut so they can have enough money to get players in, man, it's a good story. But I really hope that the OKC, and I hope the Spurs win tonight. I hope Rashad ain't heard that because I still hate the Spurs, this Shad team. But I'm starting to dislike OKC now. But you know, however it play out, I think it'll be I think the Knicks will fare better against OKC, and I think the Spurs will give them some trouble with their length. But you know, Carl Anthony Towns is playing, and the Knicks have won, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they won 11, 19. They haven't lost at home in the playoffs, and they're on a winning streak right now. They on a run. They almost on a Laker run years ago. They are on a run that's incredible, and they're getting a rest. OG Anunoby is getting a rest because the finals don't start to June 3rd. Regardless of what happened tonight, the finals don't start to June 3rd, so they'll be able to get their rest in. And I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the finals. I really am. I want to see the Knicks and man. I've never been to Madison Square Garden, but man, the atmosphere. The Knicks in the championship is good for basketball.
It is absolutely
It's good for basketball, man. I think the second thing to that is getting Chicago to the NBA finals.
Amen.
But the Knicks in the finals is good for basketball, man. And the NBA have really got them something going with this right now. So I know when I get off on here, I'm going to watch this game. Hopefully, don't be pissed off after it's over with. But Coach, man, we got baseball coming up. Hopefully, there's no more lane talk until we play them. Probably not going to be true, but I hope there's no more lane talk. But other than that, man, we got NBA basketball. I'm going to be watching some WNBA tonight as well, so I got to be able to at least give some 10 minutes on some things. But Coach, man, football, come on, man, get here. Look at us. We don't even shave no more. Football, come on. Look at Coach. Look at me. We don't even look like we. Help us. Coach, is anything else to hold the people attention?
Yeah, like I said earlier, make sure you go check out Ole Miss Rebels on SI. Plenty of baseball preview content there. I'll also have a notebook go live at 6 a.m. Detailing lineups, just little notebook type detail things. Plenty of stories there, free to read. We're gonna be back Monday night, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Break it all down. So we'll be back. We'll be back Monday night,
and we're gonna talk some WWE Monday night too, because we got Clash in Italy, and I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna have some stuff.
Tyler, come hang out with us Monday night.
Yeah, come hang out with us. Well, we are the Coach and Coach podcast. Make sure if you missed this episode, you can always go back and watch it on you can go back and listen. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. That guy right beside me, he's the offensive coordinator. I'm the defensive coordinator, and we make up the Coach and Coach podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. Make sure you set your alert to always catch us. We are the Coach and Coach podcast, and until Monday night, we'll make sure that you have a hotty-toddy weekend. Coach, anything else?
Hotty-toddy.
Hey, man, good luck this week. You got a lot of work to do, man.
Yeah.
See you later. Peace.
See you.